have had it on my vision board, on my to-do list, on my everything for over a year to start this YouTube channel. But I'm going to talk to you guys about all the barriers that I've had and why it's so important to just do it anyway. All of this transformation happened in the past year. So a year ago, I am a career coach. Sell one thing and one thing only, and that is career coaching services. It's like a one-to-one model. I meet someone, usually through a referral. They come through my door. I have a consultation with them. We meet on Zoom. I talk to them about where are you in your career? Are you looking for coaching? Are you looking for resume help? And then I propose something to them where I'm like, okay, I think that based on who you are, what you're looking for, it looks like you want to do probably a little coaching. So let's start with 3 sessions. We would then schedule a time in my Calendly to meet on a Zoom call. And this is how I would spend every waking moment of my day. It is essentially a consultancy, one-person consultancy, but I loved that freedom, okay? I did not love the structure of my days. I don't know if you guys have had coaching or been coached before. If you're a therapist or healer, like you're going to probably relate to this. You're there to facilitate somebody's change. And you serve as multiple things. You serve as a witness to them. You serve as a cheerleader to them. You're holding space for them to explore and try things on. When I'm in those sessions, I'm like locked in. Like I forget to drink water. I'm like staring at my screen. It also was a thing where I could not do more than 3 calls a day, not only because of time, like I gotta go pick up the kids and like reality of life, but also because I was exhausted. I was just exhausted. And it could have been that truly I was offering kind of transactional work when really my heart was more spiritual, and I really didn't know how to bring more of the spiritual into my coaching. I mean, it certainly did come out, just because it can't not come out. Like, who you are as a coach is your best version of yourself. So like, of course, the kind of higher self spiritual stuff is gonna come out. I also tried doing like, how do I scale this? I didn't want to just coach people for my whole life. Like it felt like the most important thing, and it also felt small, to be honest with you. I was like, I don't know that this is the life I want, and why am I so tired all the time? Like I really couldn't figure it out. I tried everything. I was like, let me do group coaching. Let me do workshops. I did full like workshops where, 10 people would join a weekly coaching call, and I would do that. I tried partnering with other coaches. I tried working for like schools and like organizations that needed coaching. I basically was just like banging my head against the wall, being like, it really shouldn't feel this hard. And also, by the way, I'm like not making any money. I'm just not, because you can do the math, okay? I as a career coach, primarily, I mean, I was kind of open to like working with anyone, and maybe that was my detriment, is that I didn't like niche down and focus only on like gazillionaires. I was very much like, I want to charge like $150 a session because that just feels reasonable. And especially if people are like, okay, it's like one thing if you are some SVP at a Fortune 100 company and you have like cash, then I might charge you $250 or maybe even $300 a session. But if you're just like a regular schmegular person, like I don't have $150 to spend on a coach, like, and so maybe that was my own scarcity mindset, like coming through. But essentially, I just always was like, I feel like I want to do more. I don't know how. And the problem was, and I don't know if you guys can relate to this, but it's like the problem was that I was so busy doing my job that I didn't have time to try not doing my job. Like I'm in calls all day. So when am I ideating? When am I brainstorming about this? It just felt like really hard, and I would be on the treadmill walking in the morning, and I'd be listening to podcasts, trying to get inspired, trying to be like, what are some of the ways, I'm listening to self-help on the on the treadmill. I'm like in it. Okay, guys, I'm really trying. But it just feels like I'm making these incremental steps and it's not really hitting. And I had also been, here's something I really recommend if you guys are creative and if you want to like find your sweet spot and find like how to be creative, but also tap into like where you're supposed to be in the like business realm of things. So I started a personal Substack. It still to this day has like 100. No, it only has like 20 paid subscribers, but it has like 200 regular people, which I don't even know what you're still doing on this list because you only get to see the first paragraph. But anyway, I purposely put a cap on that Substack because I was like, I want to be more intimate and I want to like write. And so if there needs to be like a $3 paywall, like so be it. If that means that I can be totally more honest on the page, then that's great. And I mean, I was like writing about this, how frustrated I was. I was writing about like how I was looking, never like to the detriment of my clients, but I was like talking about how I had big goals and I wanted to like try different things and blah, blah, blah. Okay, so I'm going to talk a little bit about TikTok as well, because if you are someone who is a creative and is thinking about maybe one day I want to have a channel or I just want to have a platform / presence somewhere, I'm going to like share my story too, because maybe this will be helpful. So I had been on TikTok for a couple of years, but it was like, I dreaded TikTok. Like I honestly hated it because I felt like I didn't know what the fuck to say on TikTok. I was like, this is so random. And when I looked at, here was my mistake. I looked at all the comps that were out there. You type in career coach and you like look that up, and every single career coach was out here talking about interview strategy, resume prep, like why your resume isn't getting through to the ATS. And I'm like, and if you look up like how to succeed on TikTok, they say like research your niche and understand like what people are doing in that niche, and then bada boom, you can like replicate that. So I'm trying that, right? Because I'm like, okay. So it's like so lame. So I'm like trying it, and I'm on there, and I'm literally like, if you scroll down to some of my earlier videos, it's like so scary. I literally am like 3 ways to blah blah your resume, like so annoying, right? But like it doesn't work. And then then they say like, oh, do an audit of all the content you've ever done. And so I do that. I do an audit. I like look at all my, at that point, maybe I'd posted like 100 videos. Nobody cared. Nobody was like one person liking it, And I looked at all my videos, and there were a couple standouts, and those videos were around big tech. Okay. Cause I had worked in startups, and I like to be a little sassy, So I basically would like make these videos on like what an idiot Elon Musk was, or like how I thought Amazon was being stupid, or like whatever. But they were like thoughtful but critical, but a little bit funny, like videos on big tech. And those were the ones that were doing really well. So I was like, oh my gosh, like maybe that's, and you see people on TikTok where like this is their whole niche, is being like a cool critical dude talking about Tesla. And I'm like, maybe that's what I do. But also I was exhausted because I was like, oh my God. So here's what would happen. I'd have to like go through the New York Times, read the news, educate myself on the news, go to different websites, like get different perspectives, come up with like bullet points of like, okay, here's what you're going to talk about. Blah, 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 plan it all out. I had to do homework. No wonder I hated it. No wonder I was exhausted, because I'm trying to like fucking do homework for social media. Like I don't work for BBC. Like I'm not CNN. Like I don't know what was going through my mind, but in those beginning stages, when you were just like grasping and trying to figure out like, I want to have a voice, I want to have a presence, but it just doesn't occur to you that you could just be boring and be yourself and that would be beloved. Like, it just doesn't occur to you. It did not occur to me. For 2 years, I'm sitting there. Hi guys, it's Mandy. So I don't know if you heard in the news today, but blah. Okay. And it did get traction because, you know, TikTok is very timely. So if there's a current event and you happen to be talking about it, your video is going to get seen. Also, it's very divisive. So people see a video. Some people love Elon Musk. Some people hate him. So you have like people in the comments fighting, and that's engagement. TikTok loves that, blah, 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 right? So I'm there and I'm like, okay, my career coaching business is fine, but it's basically just a consultancy where I'm selling my time, and I don't know how much. Like, you have to be thinking about longevity and like, how long can I be doing this? I don't want to be like 55 and still being like, here's my Calendly link. 55 isn't even that far away from me. I don't know why I put on that old person voice. I'm so insulting to everybody. I apologize. But like, basically I was like, I don't want to do that when I'm older, because I just knew I didn't have it in me. But I was also confused because I was like, okay, so is everything just supposed to be exhausting? Why? Why am I exhausted by everything? So the turning point with TikTok came, and I'm using TikTok as an example, but you could also substitute basically anything where you are seen. Okay, so this could be like Instagram. This could be like LinkedIn. This could be your own blog that only 4 people read, but anywhere where you are having your voice be seen outside. This could even be the fiction that you're writing and for a workshop that you're attending, okay? So I remember being like, I had just made a video about Google. Google had some like return to work policy, so I was like yapping about that stupid stuff. And then I had just gotten off a client call, and we were doing like an interview prep session. And it was during that session that I like obviously just spent an hour giving this person advice. It wasn't anything fancy. To me, it was kind of like straightforward. But I told him things to do, and I told him kind of mindsets to have, and just gave him, we did a lot of practice, okay? So it was during this session that afterwards, I was already in that state of mind where I had all these little thoughts in my head. So then I was like, well, what if I just do a video repeating, because I had given him some advice on like how to tell a specific story after you have like left a job, like, so how to frame that, right? So I already had that little story in my head, and I was like, why don't I just make a video about this? Like, yes, it's like so random and boring, but like this one person needed that advice, so maybe other people would be interested too. And I realized that like I just turned the camera on, I was just like, hey, so if you're having this issue, like here's what I would recommend. And it was kind of like when I did that I was just myself. I wasn't like trying to posture. I wasn't trying to give any, you know, angle or tutorial on something. I literally was just myself. And I hit record. I barely even edited it because I was just like, well, that was just like 2 minutes of advice, really, like upload, whatever, done. And I realized, I was like, oh, I'm like not exhausted. Like that actually felt not easy, but it felt like natural. Natural is the word I would use. It felt really natural. And so I liked that. I was like, I like the feeling of being natural. I like the feeling of not having to prepare a ton of stuff. Not that I'm like lazy, but that I was just like, it just feels easy and relatable and natural. And like, maybe that's actually what my brand is, you know? It's so weird and strange to like say you have a brand, but fine, right? I was like, I don't have a brand, but if I were to have one, it would just be like the equivalent of like this chapstick and a thing where it's just like normal, natural, easy, practical, relatable, whatever. Aquaphor, I relate to you so much. So I did that, and that video did not like take off. I'm not going to say that it took off, okay? But it was easy for me. I enjoyed it. I didn't hate it. And I felt like, oh, I could do that 10 more times, like no problem. And that was when I think I really cracked into something, is because when you're dealing with your expression and your creativity, when you find something that it's like, oh, I could do that 10 times, like that's easy, that's when you know that you're onto something. Okay. And I think that at that point too, my entire tone also with my writing, with my Substack, it changed. And I was like, I won't just be that way. Like, I'm going to write my Substack. Substack is basically just a weekly newsletter. It's a weekly email that goes out. And the only difference is that it saves it for you on a website, so that if someone were to click on the email, they can go and read all your previous ones. Okay, it's a blog. It's just a blog. I don't know. I had a friend be like, "What is Substack?" I was like, it's a blog. it's Blogger. That's what it is. So that is the approach that I took to my Substack as well, where I was like, I'm not going to try to be fancy. I'm not going to try to be the smartest person in the room. I'm going to write like I'm writing my friend an email. Like I'm literally just like, oh, hey, and one more thing, think about this. Like, you know, when you get an email from a friend and it's like so delightful and you just love it and it's like rambly, but it makes sense and it's funny, but the punctuation isn't perfect. And like, that's the feeling that I was going for. I was like, that's how I just want to be online, period. Like, period. Okay? And I think what TikTok has taught me is that, like, I think people, well, first, I don't know what people think, but I know that I operate better when I can just be myself and when I can be like normal and natural and not be scripted and not have, I mean, I even was like, should I get a background? Should I get those like weird purple lights that everybody has? I don't know. I mean, no, I didn't. I'm just in my home office. You know, that's what it is, guys. That's just what it is. Okay. So ever since that, I did that TikTok and I realized, oh, this is how I want to feel with my creativity. That was the turning point, because I really do think that is what it is. No matter what you do, whether you're a writer, a dancer, you know, if you want to start your own channel, if you want to have your own TikTok platform, like whatever it is, you have to figure out how you want to be in relationship with the thing. Because that's really what having, like, doing social media or writing or any of these things is. Right? And like, this is something I'm kind of not struggling, but like figuring out with my writing as well, because I am working on the manuscript for my book. And I'll tell you, I have these like two things in my brain. And the first thing is I think about the publisher. Okay, so I think about the publisher and I think about, gosh, what would she think when she reads this and when she edits this? Okay, it's like a formal publisher. Yes, that voice is in my brain. But more importantly, because I'm writing pretty casually. I am. And there's a part of me that's like, I don't know if they're gonna like that. I don't know if they're gonna get it. I don't know if I'm swearing too much. I'm probably cursing too much. There's probably too many exclamation mark, question mark phrases. You know, I mean, at one point I wrote LOL because I'm a millennial and that's just how I write. And I don't know, I'm open to it. Like, they may come back and be like, we really want something that's more timeless and you're going to have to be a little more formal. Okay, fine. We can have that conversation. But when I think about the book, I think about the reader and I just think about what is their experience going to be. Okay, because it's almost like there's your relationship with your art is like this, okay? There's your relationship with it, which is you're sitting there, you're pouring things onto the page, you are reliving previous traumas, you're thinking about the time that your mom said something mean to you and how that shaped you. You know, you're putting stuff on the page that is so deeply personal to you. It almost feels like you're naked. It almost feels wrong to be like, I cannot believe that I'm like admitting this shit, right? And there's the meaning that you assign to it. There's a preciousness, there's a kind of vulnerability and a kind of like finality to the whole thing, right? And then that's your art. That's you and the art, okay? That's one thing. But then there's the other part, which is you hit publish, you hit send, you hit attached, please find the manuscript, right? And it becomes something else. It is no longer yours, right? And in that vein, you do have to think about, how can I be a good steward for the reader? How can I make sure that things make sense to them and that it clicks and that it feels exciting and fun and that I'm, as promised, right? Like the promise of the premise, that I am taking them on the ride that they expected to go on, and that I am allowing them to feel the highs and the lows, but also allowing them to assign their own damn meaning to the whole thing if they want to, right? And so it is this bit of surrender. It is this bit of like, actually, I cannot control what other people think. I can do my best to write this in a way that will be so juicy and exciting and heartbreaking and all the feelings for them. But ultimately, I have to release, right? And so part of that too, and I'm going to like bring this into the process of writing as well, is being okay with like it being so shitty. Like, okay, let me explain. So we walk around, I've been thinking about this a lot. We walk around and we have like, okay, if you're anything like me, you think, and it's probably true, that you have good taste. We do. We have good taste, right? We know that Balenciaga is cool. We know what good looks like. We know what good tastes like. We know how amazing the ballerina in like the New York City Ballet is. You know, we appreciate high art. We can spot talent. We know what good looks like, okay? And that's because we've been exposed to everybody's best. We see it every day. You know, we see outcomes. We see the finished product. We see the published novel. We see the edited, perfect TikTok. Oh my God, YouTube. It's like 1,000 beautifully edited videos. And I'm like, wah, wah, hello, right? We see it. And then what happens is, when it comes time for us to create our art, to engage in our creativity, we get stuck because we do have good taste and we do have high standards. And the first thing that you put out is not going to be that way. When I wrote my first draft, so I wrote like half of it, half of the 60,000 word manuscript, took a break, gave myself like 2 weeks to edit the thing. When I tell you, when I looked at this piece of shit, I was like, I wanted to shake myself by the shoulders and be like, excuse me, what is this? Like, it doesn't make any sense. Rambling, run-on sentences, like disjointed thoughts, unfinished thoughts, circular thoughts, like poor execution is what I'm going to say. It's just poor execution all around, you know? And it's learning to exist with that and learning to be like, well, that was bad. Okay. But also having faith. So I basically had to go back and like rewrite that. But I didn't go crazy. I spent like 4 days being like, we're going to rewrite this to the point where we feel like it's good enough. And then we're going to keep moving because we have to make the deadline. Like, we have to get to 60,000 words. You cannot nitpick this to death. Like, it will die on the vine if you do. And so I've just finished the 60,000 pages. And now I'm in the process of doing the official first draft edit. And by the way, I have no idea what I'm doing. I don't know if this is correct. My knowledge of writing is zero. My knowledge of writing is I read a lot. Okay, but I'm not a professor of English. I'm a first time, I don't know. What I'm drawing on is literally my IB English skills of like when I was like a senior in high school, of how to do a sentence outline. That's about it. That's what I'm drawing it on. And I don't have like, I'm not in a writer's circle with other luminous emerging talent. Like, I'm not. I literally told my husband, I was like, okay, I'm going to like write this. I'm going to go through a first draft, then I'll go through a second draft, then I'll go through a third draft, and then I'll let you read it, and then it'll be done. Like, that's it. That's it. And that might be stupid. It probably is stupid. I probably will try to get, when it's in a little bit better shape, at least like one or two outside readers, like good friends who I trust, or at least I'll be like, read the first 10 pages and tell me if it's a horrible train wreck or not. And then try to just get it into the best shape I can and then submit. Like that's all I can do. Okay. But it's kind of like, I guess what I'm trying to say is that as you're going through and you're creating art, it's so normal to be like, oh my God, I'm terrible. Like, it's not even imposter syndrome, guys. It's literal. Your stuff is bad. It's not like, oh, Mandy, I feel that this stuff. No, it's just bad. And like, that's okay. Like, that's okay, because I don't think a lot of people show you the work in progress. The work in progress is like the whole point. Okay. But here's what the real message of this video is that a lot of people don't do it because they get stuck. And a lot of people feel like I have to have this perfect idea. I need to know exactly what I'm writing about. And if it doesn't make any sense, then I'm just so embarrassed already that it's not great, that I'm not going to work on it, or like, I feel like it's not, we go through this conversation in our heads. And I think that what I'll say is, if you have the impulse to create, if you have the impulse to write, to draw, to dance, to do whatever, some sort of creative expression, if you have that, you have to trust the purity of that. And then you have to know that art takes strength, and that strength comes from seeing yourself at various states of disarray. Seeing yourself be ugly and confused, and potentially have other people see that at the same time as well. And to already know about that level of vulnerability and exposure as part of the process. As part of it. And the last thing I'm going to talk about is this idea of momentum, and just the idea that whenever I'm like, even if I'm just like talking to a friend or like encouraging a friend to like write their play and do their thing, like just write it already, I think that what I try to say is that like, just starting it, who you are in the beginning is not who you are at the end. Meaning by the end, you will have had so much more information. But you have to think about this as being on an information gathering journey, where you're like, okay, right now, my idea is that I have this fiction fantasy novel in my head. I don't know where it'll go. I don't know if it's probably not even good, but I have it. And it's almost like you have to have 50 bad first drafts. You have to have 50 bad versions before it's even any good. And anyone who's going to tell you otherwise is lying. I mean, listen, there are some people who just get lucky and they turn on the camera and they're like instantly charismatic and then bada boom, they're like overnight success. Yes. And we see those all the time, which makes us feel crazy and unlucky and unchosen. But I think that continue to be delusional and continue to just have faith not only in yourself, but in this process, and know that you'll pick up stuff along the way. You know, like I had to make, I'm not even kidding. This is just facts. You can go on my TikTok channel and you can look at this shit. There is a video of me where I'm dancing. I'm dancing because I literally was like, I don't know what the hell to do. Early on, I literally was like, maybe I'll make dancing videos. I'm not even, that doesn't make any sense. Like, this is how stupid you have to accept yourself to be. But like, I had to make 150 bad TikTok videos. And then I had to make 50 good TikTok videos that I personally did not like before I was like already on video 300 before I made a video that I liked and that the audience liked. Okay? So at any moment, if I had given up and said, no, it's just like, no. If I had given up, then we wouldn't even be here. Okay? So bringing it back full circle to YouTube, I have just, and I'm not even like, why would I lie? Nobody cares. I love YouTube. It's what I watch. I mean, of course I scroll on TikTok, but YouTube is like when I have lunch, I put on YouTube. When I am folding the laundry, I watch YouTube. And I have all my favorite channels. I watch a lot of like cleaning video channels. My favorite YouTube channel is this woman called Scandish Home, and she just like cleans her house. And she's so soothing. She uses like all natural cleaning ingredients. Like I just literally put her on probably 3 hours a day just in the background. Like I love YouTube. But I could never figure out what the hell am I going to do on here. I was like, I'm not a good editor, you know, and I don't have the funds to like outsource that, you know. I'm like, I'm not a good editor. For a long time, it was like the equipment issue. I was like, I don't have a good camera. I don't have all the things. And finally, last week, I was like, so I started a podcast because, you know, I'm a yapper, so this makes sense. And I thought to myself, okay, you're going to record your podcast, but like don't even film it because that's so cringe and weird. And just talk into the microphone so you could just like get into the microphone vibe and like nobody has to see you and you can just wear your pajamas. You just be like this, you know? But I don't know, just something was like, well, just, you're going to record the voice anyways. You might as well just hit record on the freaking little camera and upload that. And that was last week's video, which is the best performing video I've ever had. And also just the most randomly, it's like the most honest one. And trust me, I've been trying. You can look at all my other random ass videos that I was like strange. But I think, again, I'm like, Mandy, when are you going to learn that just like turning on the camera and being yourself is going to be the way? And to trust that honesty and to trust that voice. So I am honestly floored by the comments that I got. I told my husband, I was like, there's 40 comments on that video. He's like, wow. I'm like, well, 20 are mine. Such a loser. I was like, 20 of them are mine. Because I replied to every comment. And then I was like, then I cooled it. I haven't replied to the last 5 because I was like, your comment section looks psycho. Like most cool creators, like do not respond to every single comment because, I don't know, boundaries. I was like, you need to cool it. But you know what? I'm not going to cool it. I'm so excited. I'm like, I can't believe 20 strangers commented on this wacky video that I made. I am going to reply to all the comments because that's just me. I'm just extra. I'm extra, okay? I don't care if you see it. This is who I am. And I love it. And anyway, I was so blown away. I was like, oh my God, this is, I mean, TikTok aside, I love a short form. But TikTok aside, I feel like YouTube is like, I could do this for my life. Like this could be my life. And I'd be so happy. I'd be so happy just doing these videos, talking about art, talking about creativity, talking about the creative process, talking about how to find out how to get more emotional freedom in life, how to go through change, how to go through transition, like how to have your own dark night of the soul, like all these little topics, it's like my dream. So I'm so thrilled. Just know that I'm extra and that I will continue to comment on every single comment like a freak. So, okay. Thank you for watching. I love you guys, and I will see you soon. Bye!